Welcome back to the Health Longevity Secrets Show with your host, Dr. Robert Lufkin. His book, Lies I Taught in Medical School, is a New York Times bestseller. And now, please enjoy this week's episode where we explore a personal journey through Jaded Health with Michael Medansky.
This week, we get to dive into the secrets to lasting health and well-being with our guest, David Medansky, as he shares his awe-inspiring transformation from being overweight to conquering Mount Kilimanjaro at the age of 67. After a dire warning from his doctor about a potentially fatal heart attack, David didn't just lose 50 pounds. He embraced a healthier lifestyle that has kept him thriving. Tune in to learn why he believes lifestyle changes far outweigh temporary diets and how pure water, distilled, high-quality spring, or even reverse osmosis filtered water played a critical role in his journey. We'll uncover the hidden dangers of tap water and plastic bottle contaminants, emphasizing the importance of hydration in weight loss and overall health. Unlock the 9 golden rules for transforming your life as outlined in David's fascinating new book, Jaded Health. From drinking pure water to avoiding highly processed foods and embracing holistic options like fresh fruits and raw nuts, David outlines actionable items for achieving happiness and health. Hear about the benefits of mindful eating, using smaller plates, getting sufficient sleep, and incorporating intermittent fasting and daily walks into your routine. This episode provides a comprehensive guide to breaking free from unhealthy habits and fostering a positive mindset, offering practical tips that are easy to implement and incredibly effective. This episode is sponsored by Synops Health. One of the most common questions I get asked is which blood tests I check myself on a regular basis. Well, I check 17 biomarkers, but the secret is I'm able to do everything from the convenience of my home. I collect the sample with just a simple finger stick like this. You don't need to be a doctor to do it. Then I just mail it in and wait for the results. Synops Health makes it possible. Use the link below to get 15% off. This episode is brought to you by L-Nutra, maker of the Prolong Fasting Mimicking Diet. If you'd like to try it, use the link in the show notes for 20% off. Osteoporosis is a silent killer, causing 1 in 2 women and 1 in 4 men over age 50 to break a bone. And these fractures can be fatal. Now, the usual way to detect osteoporosis is with something called a DEXA scan, which requires radiation. But if you've already had a CT scan, we can now use that data to test for osteoporosis without the radiation of a DEXA. Check the show notes to find out how and save $50 off. And now, please enjoy this week's episode. Hey, David, welcome to the show.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me as a guest today.
I'm so interested in talking about your new book, which is coming out soon, called Jaded Health, and a lot of the views resonate with things that I'm very interested in. So I'm looking forward to diving into it. So maybe you start out, David. Why did you write this book? What provoked you to do it?
Well, my story basically is when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was fit and trim. However, like most people, life gets in the way with work obligations and family responsibilities. I stopped exercising. I started eating more convenient foods and fast foods. And before I realized it, the weight crept up on me. I had my wake-up call in July of 2016. That's when my doctor told me, based on my lab results and the fact that I was fat, I was 225 pounds, I had a 95% chance for a fatal heart attack. That was my wake-up call. So he gave me 2 options. He said, you can lose weight or find a new doctor. And he'd been after me for 8 years to lose the weight. And if I did lose weight on a diet, I gained it all back, sometimes even more. I was frustrated. I was embarrassed. This time the light bulb went off. And during the next 4 months, I shed 50 pounds, which was 25% of my total body weight. More importantly, I've kept the weight off. And then a couple years later, in June of 2022, at age 67, I hiked up Mount Kilimanjaro. So when I talk to people about longevity and living a healthy lifestyle and weight loss, I don't let age be a factor.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's such an important point. Well, your story is fascinating. Like so many of the people I talked to, you sort of had a wake-up call, in that rough time range around 40, that things start happening. And I'm curious, you said you tried diets before and the weight went off, then it came back. What did you do differently, or what was the inspiration that allowed you to be successful?
I changed my lifestyle. I went back and started reading the books I had from the 1970s. I kept them all, by Paul and Patricia Bragg, Jack LaLanne, Richard Simmons, and William Duffy's Sugar Blues. And I realized they were talking about basic concepts, things we all know what to do, we just don't do them. Then I started reading books from current authors, and I realized they were talking about their products, their programs, their services, and it made it sound like if you didn't invest in their specific product or services, that you would fail. And I thought, something's wrong here. So I started writing books. Jaded Health is actually the 5th book, because I always want to improve and make it easier to communicate with people. And that's how that came about, is I found short fables and stories and parables with life lessons. And then I took those and applied it to eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle.
So what was the of the lifestyle? And I know you go into this in your book, but maybe you could share what's the most important thing that really moved the needle for you, or really that you didn't realize before?
To drink more pure water. And when I say pure water, I mean either distilled water, high quality spring water, or reverse osmosis through a 6-stage filtering process. And the reason I say that is Paul Bragg will advocate to drink distilled water. His student, Jack LaLanne, will advocate to drink spring water. And then my mentor, Dr. David Friedman, he advocates a reverse osmosis 6-stage filter. So you have 3 different experts saying 3 different things. So who or what do you trust and believe? So I let other people decide what is best for them.
And so you're saying that tap water in the United States, you're not happy with that then? Is that right?
Oh, absolutely correct. In my opinion, it's dangerous to drink just tap water. There's a couple places you can get some data that shows that there's a lot of toxins in there. The toxin that was in Aaron Brockovich movie, they found is in all 50 states through municipal water. So the 6-stage reverse osmosis will remove that.
Yeah,
And
those. Yeah, I guess some of those so-called forever chemicals have just been in the news with the FDA, at least setting some, for the first time, some low numbers for them. But many people are saying it's not enough, and they're not doing enough to restrict those.
well, here's the problem with their ratings. My neighbor next door may drink 2 or 3 glasses of water a day. So for him, it may be perfectly safe. Someone like me who's drinking 10 glasses of water, now the toxins are a high level that's unhealthy. And that's where it is. And that's why I say water's the most important thing, because our bodies, as you know, are 60 to 70% water. And we're not made of soda or diet soda or fruit juices or milk. It's water. 72% of the US adult population is overweight, of which 42% are clinically obese. There's a direct correlation between not being properly hydrated and being overweight. A lot of times what happens when we think we're thirsty, we're hungry, we're actually thirsty.
Mhm.
And if you think of it this way, a person can go about maybe 30, 40 days without food, but only about 3 or 4 days without water.
That's a great point. So What are the things we have to worry about in the water? I mean, you mentioned the strategies of reverse osmosis and all. So the forever chemicals, is that the main thing, or are there other things also?
That's the main thing. And also the plastic bottles, they're finding that people who are they're doing autopsies are finding plastic in their systems, and that's coming from the plastic bottles and other plastic containers. Uh, a lot of our food today is highly processed, ultra processed, or manufactured. And when I was growing up, it wasn't like that. And so what happens is it's a lot of it is toxic and it won't kill you right away. However, it accumulates over the years. And that's why after 10, 15, 20 years, people start developing these chronic, illnesses, heart disease, cancers, type 2 diabetes. I read somewhere that if you're over 50, there's an 80% probability you're type 2 diabetic or pre-diabetic. And if you're a pre-diabetic and do not change your lifestyle and eating habits, you'll be a full-blown type 2 diabetic within 7 years. So type 2 diabetes, number one, is preventable. And number two, if you catch it early enough, a lot of it's reversible.
And just before we leave the water, so just to be clear, then what you're saying, buying bottled water, if it's in a plastic bottle, is problematic also, right?
Correct. So I use reverse osmosis for the water that I drink. And then I have a glass container that I refill or a stainless steel to refill.
Mhm. What I mean, restaurants are problematic for all sorts of reasons, because it's like the saying goes, it can be delicious, affordable, or healthy. Pick two, and so I try to limit my restaurants for that reason anyway. But when we go to a restaurant, what do you do when you ask for water? Bottled water will come in plastic, right? Or what are the choices there?
Well, a lot of times Pellegrino will come in a glass
Okay.
bottle. I always usually ask for water with no ice and a slice of lemon. And usually their water is filtered through a filtering system.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that it's a thought. So filtered or asked specifically for a brand that comes in a glass bottle, like Pellegrino perhaps, or some other brands.
Voss, VOSS, comes in a glass container. Some of it is in plastic, some is in glass.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, good to know. So you mentioned type 2 diabetes. So we're having a world epidemic with type 2 diabetes. Even adjusted for population, there are more cases than have ever been seen before, which tells us that it's probably not a genetic disease because our genes aren't changing, but more and more people are getting type 2 diabetes. Now, you're saying that with increasing age, our risk for diabetes increases, right? Is that?
Because of the lifestyles and eating habits and what we're putting into our bodies. The formulations for food has been significantly altered since the 1980s. Howard Moskowitz worked in the food industry for over 30 years, and he coined a term called bliss point. And what it means is it's scientifically engineered food to optimize our cravings for fat, salt, texture, and sugars. So it becomes addicting. So my downfall was Pringles potato chips. I go through a large container of Pringles potato chips and then still crave more. And so they make the food so that you become a food junkie. Oreo cookies are more addicting than cocaine. It's the sugar. And the original formula for Gatorade has been adulterated so much that it's not the same as what it was back when it first came out in the 1970s. Again, if you look at the ingredients on cereals that were in the 60s and 70s, they're a lot different than the same cereal today because of all the chemicals. They're using the high fructose corn syrup. They're using other preservatives for shelf life. You can buy a loaf of bread, put it in your pantry for 6 months, take it out, and it still look as fresh as the day you bought it. So again, it's all those chemicals and preservatives are put in that are toxic to your body. And people think, oh, I'm eating healthy if they get a a whole grain bread or a bread that is, marketed as being healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's something happened in the 1980s that caused the triggered this whole thing with the obesity, diabetes, Alzheimer's, everything. It's just going through the roof. And many people agree that junk food is a big factor on it. But the problem is everyone has a different definition of what junk food is. So what do you consider to be junk food or unhealthy foods?
Wow, most of the food out there now. I was reading a book, um, Ultra Processed People by Chris Van Tulleken, and the tagline is the science behind food that isn't food. If you think about it, in the 1990s, the average grocery store had about 15,000 products. Over the years, it's grown. Today, it's over 62,000 products. Now, I don't know about you, Rob. I have not heard of that many new fruits, vegetables, berries, or nuts being discovered in that time. And what it is all the different flavored cereals, different flavored sodas, the different flavored spaghetti sauces. Howard Moskowitz was involved with the different creations of Prego spaghetti sauce and the different Campbell soups that were created. So again, when I was growing up, a lot of it wasn't around. Starbucks didn't exist. McDonald's was a treat. It wasn't where you can go every day and eat 3 meals a day there.
So if I wanted to change my life and do what you've done, what's the first step I should do in the process? I'll buy your book and read it, so that would
Well,
educate
and we can go
ourselves, right?
through the 9 simple golden rules. I'm happy
That'd
to
be
share
great.
that.
Yeah.
As I said, the first one is to drink more pure water. The second one is to avoid the processed, highly processed, ultra processed, and manufactured foods. There was a commercial in the 1970s by Chiffon Margarine with Dina Hendrick, or she was an actress, played Mother Nature, and her tagline was, "It's not nice to fool Mother Nature."
Right.
Well, perhaps we should heed the warning, because now there's all this imitation meat, imitation chicken, and it's better to eat the real meat and the real chicken than this plant-based imitation. When I was talking to Ocean Robbins, I was asking the difference between, plant-based, diets, and he corrected me. He says, "No, I don't recommend plant-based. I recommend whole plant-based." There's a
Right.
difference. So when you think of it that way, it makes sense. And people don't read labels, so they need to read the labels to see what they're actually putting in their bodies. The second thing, or the third golden rule, is to eat real, whole, holistic foods. Eat an apple, eat a pear, eat a plum, cherries, berries, raw, unsalted nuts. Uh, I avoid chicken now because of what they've done to the chickens. And it's not so much the food we're eating now, it's what they've done to the food. So if you look at a picture of a chicken the size of one in the 1940s and compare it to today's size chickens, the chickens today are about 4 times the size of what they were back in the 1940s. And it's because of the engineering they're doing to them to make them bigger, make more profit. So eat the real whole holistic foods. Avoid orange juice, in my opinion. It's the worst stuff you can put in your body. People think it's healthy. It's like, no, it takes 4 to 8 medium oranges to make a glass of orange juice. Are you going to eat all that sugar at one, are you going to eat 4 to 8 oranges at one sitting? Well, no, but that's how much sugar you're putting in body with one glass of orange juice. So little things like that. Golden rule number 4 is to eat slow. We're all in a hurry. We all rush. So we're eating, I call it mindless eating. We're eating at our desk or in front of our computers or while we're driving or watching TV. We look down and the sandwich is gone. If we're eating at our desk or whatever we're eating, the snacks are gone. We're watching TV. Well, you ate it off without realizing it. So you need to pay attention. Mark David wrote a book called The Slow Down Diet. And in there, he advocates if you take 5 minutes for breakfast, give yourself 10. And at minimum, take 30 minutes for lunch and 30 minutes for dinner. The other thing is to golden rule number 5 is to eat smaller portions. Our portion sizes have been supersized without us realizing it. In the 1900s, the average size dinner plate was 9 inches in diameter. Today, it's 12 inches. And at restaurants, it can be 13 to 15 inches for a serving platter. Yet in Europe, except for the UK, the average size dinner plate is still 9 inches in diameter. So what I advocate to people and suggest is they use a salad size plate instead of a dinner size plate. Because if you put the same amount of food on a dinner size plate as on a salad plate, the food on the dinner plate will look like there's a lot less, and the food on the salad plate will look like there's a lot more. It's an optical illusion. It's called the Delbow illusion. So it's little things like that. And then golden rule number 6 is to get adequate sleep. Based on what I've researched and studied, it's minimum 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep each night. And my understanding is a person who does not get adequate sleep will consume an extra 500 calories the next day, for energy. And that's why the energy drinks, industry is booming, because people are tired. So there's ways that they want to stay awake, which is dangerous in my opinion. Golden rule number 7, I call it rest to digest. It's an intermittent fast. And you talk about intermittent fasting a lot. And everybody has a different opinion. Some people say, 16 hours, 18 hours. What I advocate is something that most people can do and are doing without realizing it. It's 12 hours. So if you stop eating 3 hours before you go to sleep, and you get 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep, in your first meal to break the fast, not breakfast, but to break the fast, there's a difference, then that's 12 hours. Well, that's an intermittent fast. And then golden rule number 8 is to think positive. 80% of our thoughts are negative. So imagine if we changed it to be 80% positive. And then golden rule number 9 is to walk every day. Rebel Wilson lost 70 pounds walking an hour each day in over a year. Now, I realize not everybody can spend an hour each day to walk. However, Mindy Kaling also lost weight. And what she did is when she had a 10 or 15-minute break, instead of going on social media or texting friends, she'd go for a 10 or 15-minute walk. Well, if you do that 4 or 5 times throughout the day, you're getting 40 minutes to an hour. So walking is one of the most underrated physical activities we can do, and it's free.
Those are great ideas. And why is there such resistance to this? I mean, these are great things to do. Why don't more people do them? Is it they're just not aware of them, or what sort of pushback do you get when you suggest these for people?
Well, I always give the 9 golden rules out to people, and they're like, well, I know that. And my comeback is, I understand you know it. Are you doing it? And their response is no. Then the question is, well, if you know what to do, why aren't you doing it? And it's not so much what we can do, it's what we will do. And that's the difference. The other thing is, there's a lot of deceptive marketing out there by the food industry, big pharma, and the diet and weight loss industries. So people aren't aware of this deceptions that they're being, put upon them. So they think they may be eating a healthy snack bar. I have a lot of clients that will ask me, hey, I found this snack bar. What do you think of it? And I said, what's the ingredients? Well, it says I got this much protein, no sugar, blah, blah, blah. I said, what are the ingredients? I don't know. So then they send me the ingredients and I look at it, and most of it's garbage. And I tell them, it's poison. It's not healthy. You need to read the ingredients. They put the ingredients in very, very small, fine print. And people don't read the nutritional fact panels accurately. They look at the calories, which are in big, bold letters. They look at maybe the protein, the sodiums. Very few may even look at a serving size. Sometimes those packaged cookies, there'll be, 2 or 3 servings per cookie. And
Yeah.
people are, whole cookie thinking, oh, it's only, 200 or 300 calories. No, it's 600 to 800 calories. Again, it's the manipulation being put upon us. There's a term I describe in the book called Zahnerism, and it's a 14-year-old Nathan Zahner did a science fair project, and he used scientifically proven facts, but he manipulated them to give a false outcome. And so he's talking about dihydrogen monoxide. And after he did his science fair presentation, his class voted that this substance should be banned. Well, dihydrogen monoxide is nothing but H2O, which is water. And it was a term, Zahnerism, coined by a journalist who came across this, science project because he was fascinated how the public could be manipulated.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so people, they get your book, they read it, but they need help like implementing them. What would you recommend? Do you have programs that are coaching programs or assistance, or can you recommend any? What can they do if they want to go beyond what your book says and need help implementing it themselves?
Well, the first thing I would say is the book has a lot of, as I said, parables and fables and short stories. So I did my best to communicate in an entertaining way the information, and I did my best to keep it simple. The other thing is, once they, read the book, not only do I tell them what to do, but it's also how to start implementing these. They can also then get the daily journal. It's a 91-day daily journal, and they can keep track and follow along if they want to do it themselves. And they find that if you start recording and keeping track, there's a higher probability of success. And again, I advocate a lifestyle. It's not a diet. This is for changes so that you create new habits. And the habits are something you do without thinking, such as brushing our teeth every day, or whatever we do it automatically. So that's where it comes in differently. A diet is temporary, it's extreme, it's hard to stick with, and a lot of them are potentially dangerous to our health. That's why 90% of people who lose weight on a diet, like I did, gained it all back and sometimes more, because then we revert to our old eating habits. So I teach ways in the book to create new habits where you are focusing on what you enjoy that's healthy and not focusing on what you want to have that's unhealthy for you. The other thing they can do is they can reach out to me, and I can keep them accountable through coaching. And they find that people who are accountable or have an accountability buddy or partner, 90% success rate. And so if they don't want to reach out to me, they can reach out to a friend. And it doesn't even have to be someone who's on a weight loss journey, just someone you have to report to. The example I give is, if you're going to hire a trainer at the gym, you're going to show up because, number one, you don't want to disappoint the trainer, and number two, you're paying for him. Well, the difference is, if you're not hiring a trainer to go help you at the gym, but you're going to go to the gym every day, you start playing mind games with yourself and make excuses. Oh, I'm tired, I'll do it tomorrow, or whatever. We procrastinate, and you're not accountable to anybody. So therefore, you can find a reason not to do it.
Yeah, no, totally. That makes great sense. Well, this is the book, Jaded Health. It's not going to look like this. This is a preprint copy, but I recommend it highly for people who want to transform their health like David did here. And David, how can people find you in social media, and what's your website? Maybe just tell them on the air. We'll put it in the show notes as well.
Thank you. They can email me at davidmedansky@gmail.com, my first and last name. My last name is spelled Medansky, like 3 words, me, Dan, and Sky. Just make it sound Polish. And they can also find me on LinkedIn and Facebook and other social media platforms under David Medansky. And also they can check me out at jadedhealth.org. And they can check out the streaming TV series that we're doing, Jaded Health, at jadedhealth.tv.
And now the TV series, I forgot to mention that the season 1 and 2 are already out, correct? Is that right? And then season 3 is in progress.
Correct.
So you can go to it now and see the 2 seasons worth of episodes on that. Well, so I recommend that also.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thanks so much for spending time with us today, David. I really appreciate the book. I think it can help a lot of people. And thank you so much for doing what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, Rob.
If you are enjoying this program, please hit that subscribe button, or even better, leave a review. Your support makes it possible for us to create the quality programming that we're continually striving for.
Can I start? Is it recording?
It's already recording.
Oh, sorry. This is for general information and educational purposes only, and it's not intended to constitute or substitute for medical advice or counseling, the practice of medicine, or the provision of healthcare, diagnosis, or treatment, or the creation of a physician, patient, or clinical relationship. The use of this information is at their own user's risk. If you find this to be on the value, please hit that like button to subscribe to support the work that we do on this channel. And we take your suggestions and advice very seriously, so please let us know what you'd like to see on this channel. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time. You should say that.
No, that's good. It's for you to say it. I think that's very good. Do you like it? You want to do it one more time, or is that good? I think that was good.
Yes.
All right.
You need to save the recording.
All right.